Yes. Haribol, Hare Krishna. Well, thank you very much. It's so nice to see you every week. Somebody else will come, surely. And today we are going to continue the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. First of all, let's offer our humble obeisances to the spiritual masters and to our deities. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, I should offer my respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta praye svabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhatir bhavati naistike. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, with praise, with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasa Adi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we're going to start our study on the Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning from the verse 1:336. The first one, I'm going to read it myself, Sanskrit and English, and then Bharta Andy maybe can continue reading. Sava idam vishvam amogalila srijati avatyati nasajjatesmin bhuteshu chantarita atmatantra shadvargikam jigrate shadgunesha. The Lord, whose activities are always spotless, is the master of the six senses and is fully omnipotent with six opulences. He creates and manifests the universes, maintains them, and annihilates them without being in the least affected. He is within every living being and is always independent. So I'm going to say something about maybe about the six opulences. It is there in the purport, Srila Prabhupada purport. Six opulences are wealth, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. What are the six senses? This is something that we are going to spend some time in the future about the categorization of the material creation. Today, we are going to say just something that we are going to say what are the senses for acquisition of information, the organs of action, and the internal subtle senses. So the senses that allow acquisition of information, which is the senses that we are reading here, are hearing, touch, taste, sight, and smell. But here it says six. Why? Because the sixth is the mind. Mind is the sixth sense, and we have spoken about mind sometimes in the past. We are not going to say it again. But in the future we are going again to summarize or say something more. The organs of action are the organ of speech. The part of the body allows you to act, those you need to get around, the organs of reproduction and the evacuation organs. And then we have 4 internal subtle senses, which is mind, intelligence, ego, and contaminated consciousness. This is something that I wanted to say because I had no doubt that you were going to ask what are the 6 senses. And 6 opulences, many of us know because Srila Prabhupada speaks a lot about the name Bhagavan, the meaning of the name Bhagavan. Bhagavan means the one who has the 6 senses. So we know about the 6 senses. We didn't know, maybe some of us didn't know about the 6. We knew about the 6 opulences, and maybe some of us didn't know about the 6 senses. And looks like there is one question. Yes, we are going to answer.
Maharaj, I don't understand why renunciation is considered one of the opulences. Would you comment on that, please?
Well, it's very easy to appear strong and powerful when you have everything, but you appear much more powerful when you can do without them. And then that is the moment that you appear really powerful, because you have them, you don't have them, you're always very self-sufficient. And so it's just like we think, oh, he's a rich man, so he's very opulent. He's a very good man, he's a strong man. But if the man can be strong and powerful even without money, then we say, wow, he's with or without money is still a great man. So this is why it's a very, and Krishna can live without anybody and everybody, because everything is his internal energy. It doesn't mean anything outside. So that's why he's always perfectly satisfied. And yeah. So about the rest of the verse, I'm not going to stay much in this verse. And he creates the material universe, so we know that, maintains them, yes, we know, annihilates them. He is within every living being, is always independent. We know about that. Maybe we can say something about Krishna being independent some other time. So maybe, unless you want to know, of course. So maybe Bhakta Andy can read the verse 37.
The foolish with a poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama, nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words.
This is a very beautiful answer of a question that we receive since the beginning of time. Why Krishna? Why the gopi? Why plays? Why kills demon? Why this? Why that? The answer is here in this very beautiful verse. That is an actor playing, just like the actors, they play in dramas. There is no drama. Nobody in a movie. Nobody dies, and nobody falls in love or anything. It's a play. So in Krishna's pastimes, nobody dies, nobody suffers, it's a play. And why the play? Because this is the nature of the spiritual world. The spiritual world is a big theater where dramas go on continuously. It's a very revolutionary concept of spiritual world, of heaven, We don't, other religions like Christianity, we don't say much about Islam because we don't know. I don't know much about Islam. But about the concept of Christianity is that we don't know what's going on in heaven. We don't know much. Maybe you know, but I studied a lot and there is no description of what's going on in that heaven. So while here in the Veda, there is a lot of description about what goes on. And here in this verse is saying that there are dramas, eternal and infinite number of dramas. And the Lord plays. Why? Just because it's nice, just because it's beautiful. And beauty and happiness is what we need to live eternally in the spiritual world. We cannot live eternally in fear of the Lord anger or with the fear that he will throw us in hell. This is not the way to live eternally. And the Vedas tell us, don't worry, Krishna is not a god with a thunderbolt in the hand, or with a rod beating you but is in eternal youth. He wants to play with you. This is something totally revolutionary. Only in our philosophy you find this. So it's revolutionary and it's extremely beautiful. Okay, let's go on the verse number 38.
Only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who carries the wheel of the chariot in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power, and transcendence.
Okay, so what is the favorable service as opposed to unfavorable service? So there is an unfavorable service. Yes, there is a favorable service, there's unfavorable service. Just like in the scripture it said that Kamsa was thinking to Krishna more than we do. So thinking to Krishna is considered service because it's meditation. But he wasn't thinking to Krishna with love. He was thinking to Krishna because he thought that he was his enemy. And this is not the way we have to think about Krishna. Favorable service, just like Kamsa was thinking to Krishna as an enemy, we should think to Krishna as our lover, as our friend, as our father, as our son, as etc., etc. Whatever, service we may have in the spiritual world. So Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that we are studying in our Spanish video conference makes this point about favorable service and unfavorable service. So what about Krishna carrying the wheel of the chariot in his hand? What is this? Well, who knows the answer? You've read the Mahabharata.
Is it with Bhishma?
Yes. And this is particular why this point came up, and we are in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, in the Bhagavatam, there is a story of Krishna attacking Bhishma with a chariot in his hand. But this name Ratangapani, Pani means hand, Rata means chariot, Anga means a piece, Ratangapani is the name of Krishna. So this name came up. And Sutta Goswami evidently was thinking to Krishna in that moment, and he says something that apparently has nothing to do with what we are talking about here. But it teaches us that sometimes meditation does not obey to a structure. Just like when we write books, we have an idea of a structure of what we want to say, and then where we want to begin from and how to proceed and where to arrive. But when you are in ecstasy, in meditation, you don't really can keep a structure in your meditation, in your speech, and you just say what it comes in your mind. So this is the only explanation I can give of this Ratangapani name coming in a moment that has nothing to do with anything, you know. So yes, Krishna attacked Bhishma with this, and Bhishma said, Lord, come, because it's so beautiful to see you in this way. And this service must be unreserved, uninterrupted, and favorable, you know, unreserved. I don't know exactly in English what unreserved means. Can you give me an explanation of the word reserved?
Sorry, go for it.
Anyone?
I think that reserve means that you're keeping things for yourself. You're not giving all that you have or all that you can give.
Yes, yes.
And
So,
of course, reserve is the opposite.
Yes. So I don't do service because I want something. I give service because I love Krishna. Just like your service. When you do service for Krishna, for the temple, for the devotee, for the spiritual master, you do it because you want to serve, period. In the material world, everyone works for some reason. I work because of money. I work because of my ideal. I work because, but in the spiritual world, there should not be any because. There should be just for the love of Krishna. Of course, this is a very high position that maybe at the present moment we do service because we want something. First of all, we want to advance in spiritual life, and we know that if we don't do devotional service, we don't go anywhere in our spiritual life. But while we should not be discouraged if you are not pure devotee, at the same time we have to listen to what it means to be a pure devotee, so we know where we should get to. Uninterrupted, I think it's very easy to understand. It's not that you do service today and tomorrow you say no, I don't like to, because service should be unconditioned. If you like it, you do it. If you don't like it, you do it. This is very important to maintain the steadiness in your, and we studied about steadiness in Bhagavad Gita. And favorable, yes, we have explained a few minutes ago what favorable service is. So we can go to text 39, please.
Only by making such inquiries in this world can one be successful and perfectly cognizant, for such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes, and guarantee cent% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death.
In this verse, those who are conversant with Sanskrit, they have noted the conjunction, I think conjunction is in English, ata. Ata is used in Sanskrit to, at the end of discourse, and then you arrive at the, help me with the English, when you arrive at a point, at the final point of a discourse, you in Sanskrit you use the word ata to say therefore. Okay, of course he will continue talking. It's not that it's finished, but when I say and then and this and this and this and therefore means this is the conclusion. So ata is the conclusion. Ateha Tanya Bhagavantam Itam. This is beautiful Sanskrit. And here it is said about inquiries. Inquiries is actually the, how you say, the proof, the evidence that somebody is actually a devotee, because it is impossible not to have questions. It's just impossible. Having questions, if you have questions, is when you think about Krishna, when you hear correctly about Krishna, the question must come up. This is eternal. It's not that you say, okay, I have my questions, and then there will come a day that I know everything, and I will not have any more questions. This is impossible. There will never be a moment that there is not something else to know, simply because Krishna is infinite. So only by making inquiries, one can be successful and perfectly cognizant. Cognizant doesn't mean that you know everything. As I said, it's impossible to know everything. Being cognizant and know are two different things. Cognizant is the capacity to know. I don't know if in English this is the translation of the word cognizant, but in Italian, the language where I born, there is a difference between a different type of knowledge. There is a capacity to know, and I give to the word cognizant the meaning of the capacity to know. Because if I explain you something, but you don't understand, because you are not able to understand, because your intelligence is just crippled, it's not agile, it's not alive, it's half dead. Then I explain and I talk and talk. You don't understand because you're not cognizant. So someone can become cognizant only by making inquiries, and then he will be able to know as things come in, and his realization, understanding and realization, he will be able to know. Such inquiries involve transcendental ecstatic love. When somebody wants to know about Krishna, this is the beginning of ecstasy. This is the beginning of pure devotion. And we know, of course, who the personality of God that is. Is the proprietor of all the universe. We know that. And 100% immunity from repetition of birth and death. Okay, we go to verse 40, but I want to recite this verse because this is a very important and beautiful verse. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi Nishreya Sayalokasya Tanya Swastyanam Mahat. Okay, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Brahma Samhitam is the incarnation of the Lord. And so I want to find here Bhagavan. The word Bhagavan here is translated as God, just to make people understand. Because you see, as we have explained many, many times, Krishna has an infinite number of names. And for every name, there is a meaning. So if someone is ignorant, of course, those who come to Bhagavatam class, they know this. And if they don't, then they will be explained what each name of the Lord means. It's the same person. So we are always talking about Krishna. But sometimes people just open a book, he's alone at home, he doesn't know what Bhagavan means. And here, Srila Prabhupada translated as God, because God is a name that everybody knows what it means. But Bhagavan is a much wider meaning or God. Okay, we can go on to verse 41, please.
Sri Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the universe.
Yes, who is the Srila Vyasadeva son? Of course, everybody knows, the Shukadeva Goswami. He was very respected because he was self-realized, and he taught it after he wanted finally to talk about the essence of Vedas. We know the story, just like it is narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva wrote so many books and hundreds of thousands of verses, etc., but he was not satisfied. He was feeling incomplete, and his spiritual master Narada Muni arrived and explained to Vyasadeva the reason why he wasn't satisfied. He wasn't satisfied because he did not describe the pastimes of the Lord. He did not tell very clearly to people what is in the spiritual world, what happens in the spiritual world, what is the Lord's face, his nose, his teeth, his ears, his ears, details, because we are going to find them in the spiritual world, and we need to know exactly what happens in the spiritual world. First of all, because in this way we increase our desire to go there, but also because it's just purifying, and we get out of the concept of impersonalism. Impersonalism is a bad spiritual disease. Is the worst thing, becoming personal, to think that God is not a person. On the contrary, God is so much a person that Vyasadeva took so much time to describe how he is a person, how he is, what he says, everything. We know everything about Krishna. And Srila Vyasadeva told us. Okay, so we go on to verse 42. Is there any question so far? There is no question. Okay. 42.
Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink.
Yes, just a little note. We used to say Vyasadeva, omitting the last vocal of a name. This is not Sanskrit. This is Hindi. Hindi, they take the last vocal away, like Vyasadeva or this or that, the masculine names, they take it away. But in Sanskrit, it should be Vyasadeva. The difference.
That's the final vowel. They take away the final vowel.
The final vowel. Yes, yeah. The final vowel is taken because they want to distinguish between masculine names and female names. The female final vowel is double, like Ganga. There is a line over Ganga because it's feminine. And then, since they don't want to pronounce Sanskrit correctly, like Ganga, a Ganga, it's masculine, Ganga. I don't know if there is a Ganga masculine, but then the final A is closed. You have to close a little bit your throat. So Vyasadeva, it's not Vyasadeva, okay? You see, Vyasadeva. So normally, personally, you can do whatever you want, but personally, I always prefer to say the name completely. like even Parikshit, it should be Parikshit, but Srila Prabhupada uses Parikshit. Okay, this is something that I wanted to say for your knowledge. It's not wrong to say Vyasadev, but in Sanskrit it's Vyasadeva. Then Shukadeva Goswami told the same Bhagavatam to great Emperor Parikshit. We know the story. Maharaj Parikshit was cursed to die in 7 days. So he asked certain questions to Shukadeva Goswami. What is the best way to spend the last 7 days of my life? And Shukadeva Goswami basically told him to listen to the Bhagavatam. And he was surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. He didn't waste time to eat and drink because he was going to die anyway. So, so this is the setup of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami talking to Parikshit. Okay, let's go to verse 43, which is incredible, beautiful, and very important. I'm going to read it in Sanskrit. Krishna swadhamupagate dharma jnana dibhi saha kalau nastadrisham esha puranarkodunoditaha. Can you please read the translation?
Oops. This Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana.
So Krishna left. So where do we get knowledge? When Krishna was here, he could talk to us, he could make questions, but now Krishna is gone. Where do we get knowledge? Here, Sutta Goswami is informing us and saying from the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam, we find knowledge. So that's why it's so important to study the Bhagavatam. Puranarka. Arka is the sun. It's brilliant as the sun. I like to title one of my books "Brilliant as the Sun" because of this verse, and because while I was writing the last question and answer on that book, this verse came up in my mind. And just like now it's dark here and you don't see what's going on outside, but when the arca, when the sun comes, then everything becomes evident, everything becomes beautiful, because when the darkness, the colors go away. When the sun, then the colors come out, and things, black and white, are not nice. With all the colors, everything is more beautiful. And so in the same way, life without colors, is without transcendental knowledge, it just is worse than useless. Useless could be enough. It's just that is hellish without transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge is the reason why there is happiness or taste in our life. Aduna, just now, and so we have it just now, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so we have the last verse of the chapter. We are going to read it, and then we are going to, we're going to finish the third chapter, and next week we'll begin the fourth chapter. Can you read it, please?
O learned Brahmanas, when Shukadev Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus, by his mercy, I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it.
You see the beautiful nature of the noble nature of a saint. A saint does not think, now I know, I'm happy, I go in the forest and enjoy my life. No, I heard it, and now I'm going to tell you. This is what being a preacher means. Preacher is some selfless person who does not keep what he received for himself, but wants to give it to others. Also because it's very difficult, when you preach, when you repeat what you have heard, then everything becomes more clear. It's just something psychological, even material sciences. If you teach something, then things become clearer. So Sutta Goswami was there while Shukadeva Goswami was reciting Bhagavatam to Parikshit. He heard him with rapt attention. We should try to be attentive while hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he learned it because he was attentive. He learned the Bhagavatam, and then he went to Naimisharanya and said, now I'm going to tell you. And because he was attentive, because he was pure in his intention, he was qualified. Not everyone is qualified to speak Bhagavatam. Don't think that anyone who sits down and starts talking about is qualified. Many people are not qualified. Srila Prabhupada was criticizing very much the professional Bhagavatam reciter. There are people for money will tell you the Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada said that this is worth the waste of time. This is a very bad use of time. Because somebody has to be a pure devotee to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so I think we can finish here today. I got a couple of questions already before you make questions. I think Bati Rosario, who has to go soon. No, she doesn't have to go.
No, my meeting was canceled. It was canceled.
Great.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we have two questions. One about the hexagonal form of the spiritual world that I forgot to explain, because when I promise something, I maintain it, if I remember. So if I don't do it, there is only one explanation, just forgot. And the other one is a question that Pati Rosario sent me and some days ago. And I said that it was not possible to say it in a few words. It would take some time. So maybe I can answer both of them and then you can do your fresh questions. So first of all, about the hexagonal, there is one verse from the Brahma Samhita, the number 5 and 3. 5 means the 5th chapter. Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Samhita is formed of 100 chapters, but we have only one chapter, which is the 5th. So just to remind everyone that it is only the 5th of 100, we call them 5, 3 and not just 3. So the spiritual world, at the center of the spiritual world, there is a lotus flower. And that is Goloka Vrindavana. Goloka Vrindavana is made in a form of a lotus flower. And inside this, lotus flowers, petals, the center of this petal is in form, is an hexagonal form. It's made of six, how you say, 6 sides? 6? No, 5. Hexagonal is 6. Hexagonal in English.
Yeah, hexagon is 6.
Hexagonal is 6. And this is where Krishna lives. And Krishna is compared to a diamond, self-luminous. Just like we are not self-luminous, we need light. Krishna does not need light. And in this place where Krishna lives, in this at the corner of the hexagonal place where Krishna lives, there are 18 transcendental letters, which is one of the Gayatri mantra. This is a Vedic mantra, and it is called the Gopala Gayatri mantra. This Gopala Gayatri mantra is a hidden mantra that only those who are Brahmanas, who are second initiated, should recite. The day you all get your second initiation, you will be given the Gayatri mantra. The Gayatri mantra is divided in 7 mantras. And the 6th of the 7 mantra is the Gopala mantra. And it is divided in 18 letters. And if you look in Google, you find it. But I shouldn't say it because as my service of spiritual master, I should recite Gayatri mantra only when I give initiation to somebody. But you shouldn't look for this Gopala mantra because you shouldn't recite it, you shouldn't read it because you have not initiation. But this Gopala mantra is divided 18 transcendental letters. And in this hexagonal place, each of them, each side, there are 3 letters. So the Gopala Gayatri mantra is a sound. There are these 18 sounds that are directly there that you can listen while you are in the spiritual world. Okay. So then, well, actually, this Gopala mantra, it's there in the Brahma Samhita, divided in 6 parts, which is Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana, Vallabhaya, Svaha. That's yes. I don't. Although it's in the Brahma Samhita, it's in the book. You can read it. But at the same time, I just would prefer to give some explanation about this Gayatri mantra some other time, just because it takes time, and I want to give it the proper time, the proper amount of time.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. I understand a little. I'm sure I will understand more later.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Okay, so Bhakti Rosario asked me about the Svakiya. What is Svakiya? You remember you sent me a question?
Of course, Guru Maharaj, I remember.
Okay, what is Svakiya? The in the how you say, in the transcendental place of the Lord, amongst the many, many transcendental plays the Lord plays with his devotees, there is one particular play, which is the play of relationships, amorous relationship between him and the gopi, Radharani being the first, or the gopi. And there are two different types of amorous, loving relationship. Loving relationship. I think amorous is in English also. Yeah, amorous. But loving relationship within Krishna and his devotees. So there are two types of a loving relationship between Krishna. One is with his duly married devotee, and the other one is the loving love between Krishna and those who, in a particular pastime, are married with somebody else. Okay, when in a pastime Krishna is married to Radharani or any other gopi, their relationship is called Svakiya Rasa. When Krishna, during another pastime, in another lila, has a loving relationship with his devotee who is married with somebody else, that is called Parakiya Rasa. So we have Svakiya Rasa and Parakiya Rasa. So the last time Krishna came with Srimati Radharani, Radharani was married to somebody else. Her husband was called Abhimanyu. And of course, we know that Abhimanyu was actually an expansion of Krishna. So it's not that Radharani was married with somebody else. And there are a lot to say about this. But Krishna wanted to taste this particular savor, taste. Okay, I doubled it. He wanted to taste of a particular relationship, which is illegal. So, of course, we never say that we should not have a relationship with somebody else who is not your husband or your wife, of course, you know. But just for a second, just for the sake of philosophy, just for the sake of understanding, obviously there is more taste in every relationship with somebody who is not your wife or your husband than that you have with your new married partner, because the partner is always the same thing. There's nothing, you know, but the particular psychological effect, the adrenaline that you feel when you're doing something with a fear of being discovered, with a fear of being caught, and also that you feel guilty and everything is completely different, and it is more tasteful. Okay, so in this particular pastime, Krishna wanted to taste this particular rasa, and he had a relationship with the gopis, and also this pastime is called Parakiya Rasa. Parakiya Rasa means illegal, a social type of relationship. And this point came up because we were translating and explaining from the Tattva Sandarbha of Srila Jiva Goswami. That's how this issue came up. And tomorrow I'm going to finish my video course on the Tattva Sandarbha in Italian language. But I didn't touch this point at all, just because it would have taken me too much time, and I want to talk about this some other time. So while I was explaining Tattva Sandarbha, I didn't touch Svakiya and Parakiya. So during the you have to understand how conservative we are. You know, for us, a woman that goes off with some other man, or a man going off with, is horrible. It's just unacceptable. We should not condone it at all, and we don't. Okay, so because socially this is totally unacceptable, and not only socially, also for our philosophy, some philosophers had in the past had problems with Krishna's pastimes of the Parakya type. So Jiva Goswami was one of those who said that no, Krishna didn't do this. Okay, Krishna did only Swakiya rasa with his married wives, and Radharani was incarnated as a Satyabhama in Dwaraka. So he said that, so he satisfied his desire to be with Radharani when he was with Satyabhama. He couldn't accept the idea of Parakya rasa, while other acharyas said, no, this is in the scripture, we cannot deny that it happened. So there was this kind of, how you say, not debate, this, what's the right word?
Controversy, maybe?
Controversy, perfect, exactly. This controversy between several acharyas. And one in particular was a Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami. The point came, and this is how Bhatti Rosario came up with this question, because in the Tattva Sandarbha, I wrote without specifying that there was a controversy between Jiva Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami. I didn't say what was the controversy, but if she asked, and I cannot, when somebody asks, I cannot just keep saying, I don't know, you know. So if I don't know why I'm a spiritual master, I should know. And I told her something, so she asked me about Swakiya. I said, no, I cannot tell you in 2 words, you know. Either I explain more or not everything, but at least enough to understand, or I should not say anything. So, of course, the Jiva Goswami never denied that Parakya rasa existed, but Jiva Goswami didn't want to talk about, because he would give to the society the idea that it's okay, and this is not okay. Krishna did it, but it was a play, there was a game, you know, just like when we were kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, we play amongst ourselves, and I am a cowboy and you are an Apache, and I shoot you and you die. You didn't die, it was just a game. So whatever happened between Krishna Radharani, Krishna the Gopi, never really happened. It was just a game, because Radharani is eternally Krishna's partner in the spiritual world. So unless we don't understand the philosophy of the game, which in Sanskrit is called lila, and the science of rasa, which means the type of lila. There is a lila and there is rasa. These 2 things are very scientific and must be understood, or we make a lot of confusion. So Jiva Goswami didn't want to talk about this, because Tattva Sandarbha is not a book to explain this. This is too deep. So Jiva Goswami didn't want to talk about that. So he said, no, Parakya, don't worry about Parakya. Just think about Swakiya. Krishna had wives, he stayed with his wife, and that's it. But Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami, he lived in Radhakunda. You know, if you know anything about Radhakunda, you understand why Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami didn't want to accept that. Because those who live in Krishna Lila, in Radhakunda or in Vrindavan, they have a completely different mentality. Jiva Goswami at that point was a philosopher who was preaching to us. So he came out from Vrindavan consciousness for a moment, while Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami was inside the deepest, you say that in English, the deepest place in Krishna Lila, and he just didn't want to think about Swakiya, because Swakiya is less than Parakya, it's obviously less. And so that where the controversy came between Jiva Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraj, and somebody says, oh, Jiva Goswami didn't like Krishna Das Kaviraja Goswami. But you know, this is just not true. Also because Jiva Goswami died before Krishna Das Kaviraja Goswami. So they didn't even meet. So historically, this is just untrue. And all this controversy is very nice philosophically, but we had to put everything into context. If we put things into Samamvaya, this is called Samamvaya in Sanskrit. Samamvaya means putting in context. Something is wrong from a Samamvaya. If something is right in another Samamvaya. If we want to become an expert in the science of Krishna consciousness, we had to understand the science of Samamvaya. Otherwise, we make a chaos. We don't understand everything, becomes confused. Okay, so I think that more or less I answered the two questions. And
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. And if you have any other question, but of course you do, otherwise it's not even an hour. And I want to say something about our library. Our library finally active. It took maybe 6 months for the software and everything. It was a very complicated thing. I gave up at a certain point because it just wasn't working. So I didn't give all the time to upload the things. That's why we have only a few thousand things. But at the end, it worked. Also because I spent quite some money on this project. And now we have a library and divided in 3 areas. And one is public and free for everybody. And the second one is only for those who subscribe. And the third one is private, which I use for my studies and my, where I keep things that I'm going to utilize to write my books. So I don't want anyone to read them until I'm ready to put them in public. All of you, since I appreciate your presence and service, I sent you, for the second area, which is going to be the biggest area. It's going to have tens of thousands of documents, maybe more than 100,000 documents in time. So that's we ask for a subscription just because we need to survive. So you know, we have a serious amount of money, monthly money, and we spend for our technology. So we ask for, you know, $1 per month, for God's sake, $1 per. If you cannot give $1 per month, you don't want to give it. It's not that you don't have, because $20 per year, it's $1 and change per month. So if you don't want to give $20 in a year, means you don't want to give it. So, so I sent you the code to all 3 of you because I appreciated your service, and also because you already are giving a monthly donation, but in Rosario and Rosalina are giving a monthly donation already since quite some time, also quite irregular, and I appreciate a lot just because I know that it's coming and I project on that. And so I'm very proud of this project because I've been desiring doing this since maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years. And now we are uploading all the things I have, and it's very easy to research because our search engine is very good, it's very professional, you know, and you can find anything in seconds, literally. So I hope that you're going to use, subscribe. 2 of you have already subscribed, but Andy and Cassandra didn't yet. They will surely. And we hope that you are going to use Ishvara more and more. And this is what I wanted to say. about literary production. The Mahabharata in Italian is already there. That was a big, thing. So we published this Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata in Italian, finally in 2 different volumes, because we published Mahabharata in Italian in the 90s, at the beginning of 91 or 92, but it was in 1 volume, big volume like this, 650 pages. But Amazon obliged us to divide it in 2, so we did, and it took 2 months to do this. So then I am correcting the Mahabharata in Spanish. No, I didn't correct it. And Rosario did it. I am finishing, put it, and then we are going to upload it so that there are no mistakes there. Then Rosario is translating the Tattva Sandarbha in Spanish. And one thing is that we are not selling many books, maybe 50, 60 per month, it's not much. But most of them are in Spanish language. And I spoke to some of you just recently today that most of the books I'm selling, I'm very surprised, because I thought that most of the countries that speak Spanish are poor countries. You cannot sell a book to a Venezuelan or a Cuban, they are very poor. Apart from Spain and Puerto Rico, and people are very poor, can't buy a book. $10 for a Venezuelan, it's, a Cuban, they get $12 per month. If they work in government service, they get $12 per month. So they had to eat and live and survive. So I thought, I'm not going to sell many Spanish books, but it is exactly the contrary. Almost 3/4 of the books we sell is in Spanish. So we are going to concentrate and in Italian. Italian less than Spanish, but we are selling books. And English, not very many. So we are going to concentrate in publishing. So I hope that soon, but Rosalind will have his computer ready so he can help me with the English books. And Martin Rosario can help me with the Spanish books. So we can produce hundreds of books. And yes, basically this is what I wanted to say about our literary work. I'm very, very happy about that. I'm working day and night on this project of library and printing books. Other devotees are helping me, like Srimad Bhagavatam, Italian devotee, and Madhavendra Puri from Spain is giving a big help. Madhavendra Puri is working sometimes hard because his service is the cover and publishing in Amazon. And Amazon is tough. They always give a lot of troubles, and he is dealing with that. So I'm very, very pleased with Madhavendra for this service. Okay, then questions. But here, Rosalind.
Hare Krishna. I want to go back to text 38, Maharaj. It says only those who render favorable service can know the creator of the universe, but what is considered unfavorable service? Is it something that's done in the wrong way, or are there things that should not be offered that people sometimes offer mistakenly.
Unfavorable service is a service that damage Krishna consciousness. I made the example of Kamsa meditating on Krishna, always thinking of Krishna, but thinking to Krishna as an enemy. I want to kill Krishna because he's going to kill me. You know, so demons, they do service to Krishna, meaning they try to find Krishna, they fight Krishna, like all the demons who fought Krishna. This is not a favorable service. And that's why there is no demon killing in the spiritual world. Krishna kills demon here in the material world. Of course, it's not material world where he kills demon, but he kills demon only in the spiritual world, in the material world. But in Goloka Vrindana, there is no killing. There is no killing. So this is unfavorable devotional service, trying to serve Krishna as an enemy. I hate Krishna. This is unfavorable. I want to be Krishna. This is unfavorable. I don't want to go in the spiritual world because there is Krishna and Krishna, because he, Krishna, always saying Krishna. It's good to say Krishna, but this is not a good way of saying Krishna.
So when we offer service, we shouldn't be worried that we're offering unfavorable service because we're offering service as we should be. Right? That was, I guess, the question. If there was something that we could be doing that's unfavorable without even realizing it. But and I understand what you say about
no, unfavorable service is not mistakes in service. If you do something that is wrong, it's not unfavorable. It's your consciousness, the consciousness of being enemy of Krishna consciousness. That's unfavorable. If you do a mistake, you do a mistake because you are imperfect, and you know you're working on it. You're working on becoming perfect. But
thank you.
Thank you. And but Andy.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I had a question.
And where is Cassandra?
Oh, Cassandra just kind of, I guess she got busy with Mama Tyler here.
Yeah.
You were mentioning like the play and like the drama, and so that brought me to a question about like our constitutional position in the or like Golok, or I don't know about if I want to say Golok Vrindavan, but just like in the spiritual world. So so is it that like our constitutional position, just for like example's sake, is like you know, in the spiritual world I'm a bird or something like that. Like is so so is it like if I'm a bird in the spiritual world, like as a constitutional position, that's like my identity, and it's like a fixed identity, and we all have like this fixed sort of identity in the spiritual world. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, let's take let's make one example. A seed. You don't see what the seed is, but the potentiality of a seed is inside the seed. It may become a tree, for instance. So in time, what the seed is will come out. So right now, we don't know who we are in the spiritual world. We don't know if we are a gopa, a gopi, or cow, or tree, or whatever, you know. But then nature is already there. So by practicing Krishna consciousness day by day, as purity approaches, we'll start to realize who we are in the spiritual world. It's gradual. It's not going to happen in one day you wake up and say, oh, I am a peacock, and that's not going to, it doesn't happen that way. It's gradual. So the next question surely is, can I change that nature? Let's say that I'm a peacock. I don't want to be a peacock. I want to be something else. First of all, it's very difficult that a peacock wants to be something different because it's a peacock. Okay, so in terms of reality of what is that we want to be what we are. We are not going to desire to be something else. But let's say, just for the sake of conversation, just for the sake of philosophy, if 1 in a trillion peacocks maybe there is one who wants to be a cow or wants to be something, can he? So the answer cannot be no. Why it cannot be no? It cannot be no because there is something in the spiritual world which is called freedom. You are a free person. Nobody obliges you to do anything, because freedom is one of the main qualities of love. And the spiritual world is made of prema, is made of love. We all are in love with Krishna, we are in love with each other, and this love cannot but be free. I love you not because I'm obliged to love you, but I love you because I want to love you. So if we, just for the sake of philosophy, if a peacock wants to be something else, he can be something else, just because he's free. And Krishna will satisfy his desire. If a peacock wants to be a cow, he can be a cow, do something else. But again, we have two principles here. One is that I don't think how someone who he is can decide to be something else. It's like saying a fish wants to fly. A fish is a fish. He wants to be in the water, okay? But in the spiritual world, if someone wants, he can change his svarupa, his nature. So keep in mind these two principles at the same time. That's why we have two eyes. Look at something, look at right and look at left at the same time, okay? Nobody in the spiritual world wants to be anything. It's like saying to Mother Yashoda, look, being a gopi is better than being Krishna's mother. You know, Rupa Goswami says that. You know, being Krishna's lover is better. You know, Madhurya Rasa is better than any other rasa. Mother Yashoda will tell you what you're talking about. You know, I'm Krishna's mother. I'm not a gopi. I don't want to be a gopi because I am Krishna's mother. Okay, so this is a principle that we have to understand. We in the spiritual world, we are who we are. At the same time, we can never say that someone living in the spiritual world cannot. No, you cannot be someone else. You are eternally obliged, forced to be that. You cannot say that. It's just wrong philosophically.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Bettina, Rosalind.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. This is a very interesting idea that one would not change their form because one is satisfied. But what about our karma? I mean, do we have any free choice in that? I mean, I thought maybe a pig eater would be reincarnated as a pig, and they certainly don't want that. How does that? Do you understand my question? I mean, how does that affect this idea of free choice and changing from one form to another?
Well, we are talking about two different worlds here. The spiritual world and the material world are two different places, and there are different laws. which has nothing to do one with the other. When we talk about free choice in the spiritual world, that is in the spiritual world. Karma is not, there is no karma in the spiritual world. Karma is all in the material world. What karma means? Karma means you do something and you receive a reaction. Okay? And you cannot control your reaction. You cannot even control your action, actually, you know? So sometimes you do things wanting something, not knowing that you did it wrong. And what you did will give you something maybe opposite of what you wanted. Okay? So you steal because you want to be rich, but you end up in prison. Yeah. You choose to steal. You didn't choose to go to prison. So action and reaction in this material world are often not correlated. Why? Because it is a science. It is a very mathematical science to know how to get a result from particular actions. And this is what the Vedas are about. That's why in India you see all the businessmen with Lakshmi or Ganesh or Shiva in the store, and every time they begin, they don't begin working without doing a little puja to their deities, because they know that they are going to make money with a little puja. So it is scientific. In the spiritual world, it's completely different. There is no karma, there is no wrong actions, there are no things that you receive without wanting to receive. Everything, action and reaction they are both perfect. So in the material world, you don't have choice. You know, just like a thief doesn't have a choice. You cannot say, oh, but the Bhagavad Gita says that I have a choice, dear judge. You know, now I choose not to go to prison. And the judge said, no, you had the choice not to steal. That was your choice. But if you steal, you don't have a choice. You had to pay your reaction. So this is how in the material world happens, that things happen, that there is no free choice in the material world. Everything is under very strict laws. But again, in the spiritual world, it's completely different. It's not the same thing.
Okay, I understand that distinction. Thank you.
Okay, so we maybe one or two questions more, and then we finish our weekly conference. No, there are no questions. And then okay, so we end here. And please come to our conferences next week and Thursday. We are going to start the 4th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's going to be very nice. Okay, so Hare Krishna and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Jai.